You play some gig where Pete just got out of prison or something? I mean, how into the Libertines were you? Was it a big deal for you?
Um, it was a weird one when when the Libertines first sort of, when I say came out, when they were first getting press, because they were on the cover of the NME before they put a single out, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And so that would have been 2001, I think. So this was before. This is a good 18 months before I met Janet and Sack or anything like that. And I actually wrote a letter to the NME, and it got. I've got it somewhere. You know what? I should have found it before we started. But I wrote a letter to the NME, and it got printed. And I can't remember word for word what it was, but it was something to do with why are you sort of promoting this fucking turgid like band that's made up of these like public school boys that are just like pretending to slum it and stuff. So yeah, I weren't into the Libertines at all. And then I don't know, I don't know why. I think it's maybe I've just like because their songs were like in all the clubs and pubs all the time around that time. It was almost like they were in the atmosphere. But I ended up buying the album, the first record. I ended up buying it, and I played it quite a lot. And for a short time, I enjoyed it. But I think I, I think we all three of us quickly kind of cottoned on to the fact that it was that band seemed to be more about this bizarre tabloid, almost soap opera kind of thing, and it just became a bit vile. I
Hmm.
thought, there was when I mean we played with the Libertines a couple of times and Baby Shambles and stuff, and so the first time that you were on about when Pete had got out of prison, I think he'd got out of prison and he'd done that gig in Kent or something the day he'd got out of prison, and then the next night, um, we were playing the Barfly in London. It was a Queens of Noise night, and we'd sound checked and we're sitting around and all that. And then one of the Queens of Noise said, "Oh, would it be okay if Pete Doherty came and did some acoustic songs before you guys went on?" Like, well, there's no point asking us because you've clearly already made this decision and it's going to happen. And I can see on this computer screen here that it's already on the Libertines message board. So obviously that's going to happen. And so Pete turns up and he's got an acoustic guitar with him. And then about half an hour later, the rest of the Libertines turn up. And it suddenly went from Pete doing a couple of songs acoustic on stage before we went on to us going on early and the Libertines playing a full set. And there was we got a phone call from one of them. I presume it was the drummer, Gary, because he rang up someone and they passed the phone to us and he said, "Can we borrow your drum kit?" And I said, "Ha, no, you can't, because we haven't got a drum kit." Thinking that would sort of derail the whole night and we could just do our gig and our egos would be intact, kind of thing. Well, it was Camden and they managed to get a drum kit from somewhere. It was a really, really weird gig. So I don't know if you ever seen a gig at Camden Barfly? So I mean, you must have done it at some point.
Yeah, I've definitely been drinking in there. It's a small
Yeah,
place, isn't it?
it's absolutely tiny. And as you can imagine, it was overfilled with people. And I remember watching the Libertines from the back of the stage, and I'd seen them a couple of times before. I'd seen them on their first tour when they came to Leeds and stuff, and I was watching them, and it was really strange. I've never seen it before or since, a band on stage that every single one of them clearly hated each other so much. It was like this horrible sort of toxic atmosphere. But the thing with playing with those guys and with Baby Shambles was the this weird sort of entourage of people that were kind of like sort of floating around Pete, because obviously because of drugs connections, there's quite clearly that. But people who just vibrated with some kind of like really malevolent, horrible energy, and it just turned every room. Any room you walked into that they were in, it was just sour. It was horrible.